Hi everyone, this is the second week of Making Sense of Microbiotic-Me. This week we're going to talk a little bit about the scientific method. This is to kind of get you ready to be reading case studies and also learning more about your pet microbe and thinking about the ways that scientists study different things. So the scientific method, it often can be broken down to many steps, shortened even. This is a nice one though for being able to show kind of the evolution of the way that we go through the scientific method. And it always starts with asking a question, something that you're trying to figure out. You generally have to do a little bit of background research then to construct a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is basically an educated guess, what you think might be the answer to your original question. From that, you can then come up with an experiment to test what your hypothesis is. Once you go through that experiment, you try to figure out, did it work? Did what you think happen or not? And so we have the answer, no, it didn't work. Then you probably have to troubleshoot your procedure and maybe go back and work on the experiment. If it did work, then you can go down and start analyzing the data and start to draw conclusions. What does the data mean? Did it support our hypothesis or not? And that's the next step. Either the results will align with your hypothesis, and then you can communicate those results, or perhaps it aligned partially, or maybe not at all. Maybe you were completely off base, and this is where you have to go back up and maybe do some more background research and think of a new hypothesis, because clearly your educated guess maybe didn't work. So this can seem kind of confusing and maybe a little bit hard to figure out how you would get this to work. So I thought we'd go through a very simple kind of hypothesis or scientific method that you might do at home. So we're going to start with asking a question. You find a flashlight in the junk drawer, like I often do, and the question is, why won't the flashlight turn on? I turn on the flashlight and no light comes on. So my question is, why won't it turn on? So I do some background research, right? I turn the flashlight off and then I turn it on again, and the flashlight still will not light up. So this is where we get into the hypothesis. What do we think is going on? What's our educated guess, thinking about any kind of past experience you might have had even. So my hypothesis is, if the batteries are dead in my flashlight, it will not light up when it's turned on. So this is my hypothesis. So how do I figure out what to do? I've decided in my hypothesis the experiment is going to be to take the batteries out of the flashlight and replace them with new batteries. This is probably something all of you have done 100 times. And yes, all of a sudden my flashlight is working. Sorry, that says not working, but it should say working. So all of a sudden now my flashlight is working. So what does this mean? We look at our data and we draw conclusions. We had a flashlight that did not work. We changed the batteries with new batteries, and now the flashlight works. So my conclusion from that is that the flashlight needed new batteries. So do our results align with the hypothesis? In this case, the results did align with our hypothesis. However, let's say that the flashlight had not worked after I changed the batteries. That would send us back up to where we would have to start with a new hypothesis, right? So you can always go back to that second slide to see the different steps. And then lastly, what we do is we communicate the results. The flashlight needed new batteries to work. So this is a really simplified version of the scientific method, but I want you to get into the idea that it doesn't have to be all that complicated. We actually probably do the scientific method a lot in our normal life without even knowing it. So I hope this helps you, and if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to either email me or to come to my office hours on collaboration. Okay, talk to you soon.